Pencil Kings, 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 Pencil Kings.
Whatever it is you want to do that brings you fulfillment, do that thing. Your heart will tell you.
It's time for another update with Derek Rodenbeck. I love talking to Derek because he's doing stuff. There's a lot of talkers out there, but he is a doer. And
Thank you.
if this is the first time you've heard me talk about Derek, you can go back to pencilkings.com, and at the top right, there's a little magnifying glass, and you can click that button, and then it will bring up a search bar, and you can just type Derek in there, and it'll bring up all the past podcast episodes that we've had. And if you're new, I suggest you start at the beginning because it's kind of a journey, and I've wanted to follow Derek's journey because he's interested. He's a very talented artist, but he's also interested in entrepreneurship, personal health. He's a military veteran. There's just so many cool things that Derek has going on, and I'm sure sometimes he doesn't realize it, or maybe he does. I don't know.
I'm smiling right now. It's nice to stroke the ego a little.
Okay, so last time we talked to Derek, was it a creative director position that you had?
Yeah. That was at Rights Entertainment, Rights Games or whatever, for Arcane Infinity, the card game that we're working on.
Okay, and it's been a little while. So since then, I think you've had some different things going on. You've changed your apartment. I think this is the second or third change maybe since we started talking. And for those of you who might remember, there was a point where Derek was living in his car for – how long were you in your car?
2 months, actually. This is
what?
Yeah, this is the fourth move this year. But this is stagnation. Like, I'm hanging out here for at least a year.
Wait. You were in your car for 2 months?
Yeah, 2 months.
And Derek's got this giant dog too.
It was interesting. I mean, I remember specifically the first night where Kuma and I were in the car, and he was in the back, and it was raining, and like he smelled just like really horrible wet dog. So the car was just like full of this like Kuma wet dog stench, and I had to roll the window down, and I had one of my old like military blankets, and I was wrapped up in that in the front seat, and the rain was like splashing down on my face, and I was just like laying there, and I was just like, well, this really sucks, but I will make it through this. It's not that terrible. Things will get better, but I will never. That's going to be a very vivid memory in my mind for I think the rest of my life, because I was just like, of course, the rain too. You know?
Yeah, and I think what's good about that, like real hardship. I feel like everyone has had hardship, imagined or real, but a time when things weren't as good as you were used to.
Right.
But these hardship times, I kind of like them because all of a sudden now you could stay in the crappiest hotel and you're like, well, at least it's not raining on my head and wet dog smell. Yeah. You know, like it doesn't matter. All of a sudden your low point is set like at a new level. Like for me, it was a house that had plastic over all the windows and was infested with crickets. And so I just think as long as it's not that house,
oh my God,
things are pretty good. I've lived in places like infested with cockroaches when I lived overseas. And I'm not saying that you want to, you don't strive to have these negative experiences, but you just embrace them. And then you become grateful for all the good things that you have right now. So you could I'm sure there's something like with every place that you live, you can complain about some things like, the kitchen's too small or whatever. And like, but at least,
at least it's not crickets. At least it's not rain. I mean, my I guess defective, like what I went back to was just like, all right, well, at least I'm not in the military right now, and I'm not like overseas. Like, I was just like, it's just my car. I have everything I need right now, and I know I can go to the library tomorrow and work. I know I can go to the gym tomorrow and work out. Like the only thing that's missing right now is like a big space for me to live. So at the end of the day, it was just like, this sucks, but it's not terrible.
Okay, so I want to get into the actual update here, and just before we hit record, you're telling me that you've gotten to a new level of focus,
Yes.
and I think this is something that's important for creatives, especially because we have this idea that we can do all these different things, and we can.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't do them all at the same time. So right now, I can think of all these different projects that would be really cool, but they're like year-long projects, or maybe even like 4 or 5 year-long projects, realistically,
Right.
when we start thinking in terms of reality. So can you tell us some of the things that you let go of, and maybe some of the things that you struggled to let go of, if that happened, and why it was a struggle, but ultimately, like, why you decide to let it go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, initially, what I am actually working on right now, I dropped actually everything that I'm working on now. That doesn't mean I'm never going to be going back to it, or I'm not going to be moving towards it. But I decided, after it was watching a Jake Parker video, and for those of you not familiar, I would definitely look him up. I think he's really innovative, actually, in the art world, and somebody that most artists should be following and watching, because he's very involved with not just the artwork, but I guess basically building community and making artists more successful at the things that they're doing. But he put out a video about just like finishing the thing, essentially. And this like cycles back to a lot of entrepreneurship as well, where a lot of mentors I've had and just people of influence that I've looked up to have really just had laser beam focus on one big goal, one big thing, and they were able then to apply so much energy into that one thing that they were able to then finish that thing. And I think that's like something that we as artists, we're very in touch with our emotions, our dreams, the things we want to share. And you have to be that way somewhat, because you're consistently giving a piece of yourself every time you obviously draw or paint or whatever it is that you do. But but being able to actually finish something, because then once you have that finished piece, that finished product, that finished whatever it is that you've built, you then do have that. You have a product, you have a story, you have a portfolio piece, you have fulfillment, and these are all things that do come in line. Well, not only that, then you also have momentum. Bouncing around and being scatterbrained on numerous different tasks of things that you want to do will really it'll split you up too much. You're not thinking enough you're not focused enough on that one particular thing that will get you to that success quicker. So right now, that thing for me is finish the comic book, and that's what I'm doing.
So what are the, and I completely agree with everything that you said, and I feel that sometimes for myself, I don't realize how long-term of a project I'm actually undertaking. So I feel like I'm in this rush all the time. Like, I got to get everything done this week.
Right.
And it's like, no, you're on like a 5 year or potentially even a lifetime trajectory with the stuff we're doing at Pencil Kings.
Yes.
You can put in the time and just say, like, that's a good idea, but that's like a next year idea. And this year, the focus is this. So what do you need to do this week to keep building whatever that thing is that you're working on this year?
Right.
And just realizing the scale, because I think in the beginning, there's all this like frantic energy to do all this stuff so fast. And now that we're sort of 5 years into it, it's like, yeah, we just keep building and refining and making it better. And bit by bit, it keeps evolving. And there's like twists and turns in the journey that you can't foresee in the beginning. So you don't have to be so rushed. Just focus on that one thing, get it done. If you can get it done ahead of time, great, as long as you put the proper amount of effort in, and then you can move on to the next thing. But so back to your story, what are some of the things that you said no to? Like when we last talked, you were doing Art Bros. Did you say no to Art Bros?
I've definitely pulled back a lot from it. I mean, right now I'm participating in the Inktober challenge, but the reason I'm really doing it is, one, I want to see other people who are following us on Art Bros. I would like to see them draw once a day for 31 days. I think that'd be great if I can get one person just to do that. Like, they're going to be 31 more drawings better. Like, and that would be like a huge accomplishment, not just for me, but for that individual. So, but also I'm doing 31 illustrations, and they're just like an hour, maybe 2 hours at most each day. And I can hopefully then, if I feel it's good enough and it's something that I like, I can put it together a small book, and I can maybe sell that down the road or give it away. So that's like I would say like a micro project. So, but Art Bros, as far as doing videos and whatnot, it's one of those things where I've talked to Nick, and I'm just like, hey man, like I have to be focused on my paying gig right now, and when I am finished with that, and if I have time, then we can do a video. So yeah, Art Bros is one that I think it's like a big thing, like saying no to stuff, and not just to people, but to yourself, because I think it's very easy for you to, and me obviously, to be like, this. That's why I keep a Post-it note with a list of stuff, things that I think might be interesting that I might want to work on down the road. And it's funny because you go back to it maybe 3 or 4 days later, and you're like, that's not really that great of an idea, or yeah, I could work on this, but maybe a year from now. I also recently had a business that I walked away from, and that was in August. And that was also that was doing financially very well. And, coming from a situation where I was basically impoverished, and in scarcity, that was not necessarily a tough decision to make, but it was one of those things where you're just like, all right, well, you're making a decent amount of money every day where you don't have to worry, but are you fulfilled? Are you happy? And is this leading you in a direction that you want to go, that will continue to fulfill you and fuel you to do the things that you want to do and you want to contribute? And is this really in your heart? And listening to my heart the whole time I was working on this project, I was just like, this just is not in line with who I am and what I'm doing. But the good lesson I learned from that project was I was able to see that the things I have learned I can apply, and I can build functioning systems that work. So there's always like a silver lining, I guess, everywhere. And then, just all the other stuff, again, going back, the comic book, my goal, I have this comic book, I want it finished by November. That's it. It's really that simple. And then once I'm done that, then I'm going to move on to the next project that I think will fulfill me the most and yield me the most growth.
Any other big things that you let go of? I know that gym is a big one for you. Did you cut back on the gym at all?
I'm now that was a forced cutback. Unfortunately, I tore my rotator cuff. I started training for American Ninja Warrior, and I don't know what happened, but one day I just woke up and I had some pain in my shoulder, and I went to go lift, and I couldn't lift. It was like a fraction of what I necessarily could lift on my left-hand side. And I'm actually going to be going out and get an MRI. So this is maybe, I guess, like a little snippet of what I'm moving towards in the future. But now I'm starting to focus a little bit more on yoga and seeing where that's going to take me as far as physical fitness and kind of testing those waters. So I'm still weight training, but I got to get my shoulder back up to 100%. So unfortunately, no strongman competition for me this November.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think of the next question here. So you've cut back on the stuff. You're focused. Actually, the first thing that I do want to talk about, which is just more of an anecdote. So this idea that you had with the Post-it notes, I want to dive into this
Sure.
a little bit more, because this is something that I started doing, I want to say like 8 or 9 years ago.
Really?
And I couldn't sleep at nights. I would go to bed and my mind is just going a million miles a second with all these ideas. I would have been, excuse me, about 25 or 26.
Right.
So, still don't have a ton of life experience and have an excess of energy to just pour into these projects because I'm a workaholic.
Yes.
So I would have all these things, and then I couldn't sleep, so I'd get up and then I'd go to the computer and I would start researching these ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's say you were like, oh, you know what would be really cool?
Yeah.
A T-shirt company based on craft beer logos or something, something like that, which isn't maybe not a horrible idea. So you go up and then you wake up and you research and you're like, okay, well, nobody's done this idea. Now who could make these T-shirts? And you just keep going on and on, and I would waste all this time. And I was like, man, this is not good. These ideas never go anywhere. And I have all these like research, and I wasn't writing the research down. I was just doing it. It was just total consumption mode. So what I started to do then, and I came up with this concept of the idea jar. So the idea jar can be any way. Like for you, it's a Post-it note. For me, now it's evolved, and it's an Evernote.
Oh.
No, it's in my project management software. I just have a project,
Right.
And I use Asana, asana.com. It's free. It's really amazing.
Check it out.
So I have a project called Idea Jar, and when I have an idea, I was like, oh, with Pencil Kings, we could. What if we could make Blu-rays? I don't think that would be a great idea, but what if we could do Blu-rays? So I had the idea, and I get that little dopamine hit, or I'm like excited a little bit.
That's what it is.
But then I realize that I'm going down that potential path of losing a lot of time, and so I'll just write down Blu-ray courses in the idea jar, and then any thoughts or whatever that I have right at the time, I'll write those in the description, maybe like a paragraph, and then I was able to just let it go, and I could go back and sleep. And so I realized this, years and years ago, and whatever system you have. And the funny thing is about the idea jar, in 9 years, I've never gone back to the idea jar.
Exactly.
I just let those ideas go, and they're there. There's probably tons of amazing ideas in there, but they're just there. And if I want someday, I can go back and look at them and probably have a laugh.
And the thing is, like, you have your thing right now. You have your machine. You have the thing that you built and you're working on, and it's functioning. And I think it's very easy for entrepreneurs and artists, and I don't know, people in general. We really get romantic about the things that we are doing, especially if it's an idea or something that we're creating. And this can really reflect back into artwork that we're making as well. We get very romantic about the things that we're doing and creating, and things just don't ever get finished. So instead of being romantic about it, enjoy it. But this, it just goes back to, I tend to go back to this a lot, but the process of actually just doing that one thing that you have focus on to have that goal to finish that thing, because I think that'll also build momentum into finishing projects and being committed to things in your life, like not being so wishy-washy and just like, all right, well, I'm doing like 6 of these things at once. And I think all of that is reflective in not just like things you do, but like commitments, like with friends, and it's all intertwined, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up momentum, because I think that was one of the themes from the last episode, where you were talking about building momentum, and you were getting more followers on social media and whatnot. Right. And you had a lot of things going on. But since making that conscious decision to focus, has there been a shift in the momentum? Has it sped up? Has it slowed down? What's happening?
Well, as far as making the comic, it's speeding up. The guys that hired me to do it are very happy, and I'm very happy to getting closer and closer every single day, getting it done. It makes me feel better, and I'm getting a little bit more weight lifted off of my shoulder, which is broken right now. So, um, I think it's just like going back to being happy, and then also being able to finish the thing that you're working on. Like, do you realize how much fulfillment there is when you're able to finish something? Like, it's awesome. It just feels great.
And to get to this point of focus, did something have to break? And where I'm going with this question is that I feel like until the pain is hot enough or great enough, often we're not able to make a change,
Right.
Until the doctor gives you that grave diagnosis,
Yeah.
you're not going to take your health more seriously. Focus, I think, is something a little softer, obviously, than a health scare. But was there something that broke, or something where you're just like, okay, I need to do this, and I need to do this fast. I need to make some hard decisions so I can focus on my comic book. Like, were you missing deadlines, or were you just like not happy, or you just felt like you had not enough hours in the day? Maybe girlfriend was complaining that
Yeah.
you're working all the time. What was it, or was there anything like that?
I mean, there kinda. I think the first and foremost thing was the business I was working on in this past August, where I ended up, obviously, like I said before, walking away from it, and I was just unfulfilled and not happy the entire time. I wasn't doing art, and I still had my projects that I was working on, and that I knew I needed to get finished. And one big realization was just like, all right, well, I built something that makes money, but it's not fulfilling me because I still have other things that I have prior obligations to that I still need to fulfill. And those are very important to me. Plus, the things that I'm working on they're not stimulating me as a person enough, and I'm not giving back enough to people. It's just a machine, if that makes any sense. So that was like, I think, one shift. And you know what, honestly, like one of the biggest things that sticks out of my mind from that time period was when you have like a product and you have it connected to PayPal, for say, like every time you get a sale, it'll pop up on your phone. That same tone that you hear on my phone is the same sound as of a text message. And inadvertently, I hadn't heard from my girlfriend at all that day. I think she was like working or something. I forget where she was, but she was just like busy doing something. And every time I would hear my phone ring, I was just like, it was PayPal. And I remember like pulling it out for like the 10th time and looking at it, and I was just like, oh, it's just money. Like I wanted it to be my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, I think fulfillment is like, it's definitely key, and that was the start of the breaking point. And then I was looking at myself and the things that I was doing. I'm like, why am I still working on all these things? This should be done. Like, how am I not able to finish all this stuff? And I then sat down and just was like, I just need to wipe the slate clean, put stuff on hold, even if they're great ideas, and focus on one thing, the most important things that need to be done, and finish that thing. Because I know once that's done, I can then move forward, and I'll learn something along that way, and I'll have something quicker. And I'll either fail quickly with the thing, or I won't. And that's what happened in August. Like, I failed quickly, and that was a really great lesson.
I love this idea of failing quickly, and something I've been, I have some people giving me advice on things that I should do, and some of the advice that keeps coming up is fail quickly, and I've heard it before,
Yeah.
but I never understood it, and I feel that you have to understand these concepts, because you could read a book by the world's smartest person, but if you
Exactly.
don't understand it on your own level, it's not really doing you any good. But this concept of failing quickly now, it's like I guess I feel like I am afraid to fail. So by drawing things out
Hmm.
and taking extra amounts of time, then I'm not really failing because I haven't totally failed yet. But if you go all in, kind of like balls to the wall, and you're just doing it as hard as you can,
Right.
and in 30 days, you're like, this just doesn't work. Great.
It's
That's
awesome.
actually a really great thing because now you get your life back
Yes.
instead of being on this course for years and years and years.
Yep.
And it's amazing. And I'm still struggling with embracing it and taking that action to fail quickly because it like ties in with my identity,
Yeah.
and there's so many things that's really scary about it. But I'm opening up to the idea, and at least I understand the concept and how freeing it can be, because when you're just stuck in that, it's not really stuck in a moment, because it's a longer frame of time than a moment. You're stuck in a project
Right.
or in a movement or something, and yeah, you just got to get on with your life. It's amazing.
Think about it this way: like you're in a truck or a car, and you just spun out, and you're sitting in the mud, and there's a bunch of, I don't know, stones and wood blocks all around you, but you're just like, my engine has 450 horsepower. I'm just gonna get out of this. So you commit everything you have in your car because you're just like, there's just too much stuff out there, and I don't want to, I don't want to get out. But each of those little things, if you just took a block and put it underneath of your tire that's spinning into the dirt and not moving anywhere, you're just spinning tread. If you took a wood block and put it in front of your tire, you'd be able to move. It's just one thing, one little thing that you stop focusing on what's really going on all over the place and just get that one little key thing that you can put in front of you to shift you up out of the mud and get you out of the mud and moving forward. And that can be applied with, your artwork. That they call it basically like polarization. Like you make a decision and you act upon it. And I mean, that even worked with like my girlfriend, for example. I just pretty much told her, I let her know that I liked her like fairly quickly, because I just wanted an answer and I wanted to move in that direction. And if you're very direct with the things that you want to do, whether it's your love life, a job, artwork, or a mission that you're on, and you really focus on that thing and allow yourself to be real with yourself to do that thing, you're gonna get an answer one way or another, and you're gonna be able to move forward with that answer one way or another. And it really makes life a little bit more simple as far as making decisions and then figuring out what you have to do next and how you can get to a better place yourself.
Okay, last question, and then we'll wrap it up. And I want to bring this back and get some actionable insights
Yes.
for something that I've seen a lot of lately, and it's people who want to do webcomics or comic books or graphic novels. I ask them, what do you want to do when they join Pencil Kings? And they say, I want to make a graphic novel.
Right.
And that's fine. I support doing the thing that you want to do. But what I see then is they've never done a single page. So it's like they have this thing, they want to make a graphic novel, but they've never made a single page. And then there's all kinds of excuses around why they can't do it. Maybe their skills aren't there yet, which I can understand a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think about this? Because you're actually in it, doing it. You went to school to be trained as a comic book artist. How about if you want to do comic books, maybe a full comic book is too much in the theme of failing faster. This is my thing. So how about you make 5 pages, a 5-page story? So that should give you enough time to tell a little mini story,
Right.
and enough panels to do it. And you just do it. Whatever your skills are at, if they're horrible, that's okay. The goal is not to be an amazing artist. The goal is to finish something and to see where you're at the end of that 5 pages, and you will know and you might fail at it. You might realize in doing those 5 pages that you absolutely hate drawing comic books. And that's an
That's a
amazing
great
thing
thing.
because now you can give that up and you can come back to the rest of the productive world, and we can help you in a direction that is going to get you somewhere that you actually like to do it. So what do you think about this advice of the 5-page, in 30 days, get a 5-page comic book story written and illustrated? Maybe you don't have to color it. I don't know. You can take it as far as you want, but just get those 5 pages done, whatever done means for you.
I mean, I'll be really frank and very blunt with you about this. If you can't do 5 pages in 30 days, then you don't have business doing comics right now. And it's not, maybe it's a little harsh to say that, but reason being is comics is a very fast-paced environment, and the reason it's a fast-paced environment is because it's entertainment, and entertainment is fueled by sales, and also it's fueled by people who are investing in building a project that is going to be consistent and on time. And once you put that first issue out and you start getting your readers, like, it is imperative that things come out on time. And that's why, quite honestly, I don't like doing comics all the time. And that was a hard pill for me to swallow as well, because comics are very time consuming. They are difficult. They take a lot of processing power as far as your brain, and it's a challenge, and it's great. But you speak to some seasoned vets who are comic book artists, and they spend a majority of their time like just drawing comics all day long. But to do 5 pages in 30 days is very doable for anybody. The reason I say you don't have business doing it if you can't do it is because you have to let go of where you are currently. And if you can let go of where you are currently, I bet you could get 5 pages done in 10 days or 5 pages done in 5 days. Stop focusing on the comparative aspects of who you want to be like or what your drawings look like. Just tell the story, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is the story and what's going on in comics. Look at the Oatmeal, for example. What's his name? Matt? Is it Matthew? Matt? I'm not sure.
I can't remember, but amazingly successful.
Amazingly successful. Super simplified. They're great, but the whole thing is, and the guy can draw, I've seen his actual artwork and he can draw extremely well, but he's telling a story where the story is actually the forerunner of what it is that is the message. And when you're doing comics, just remember that your story is the most important, most vital thing. It's the heartbeat of everything. And if you're not focused on the heartbeat, it dies. You know what I mean? Like, if the heart stops, it dies. So, and it's important. Storytelling is an important job. It's an extremely important job. We've been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And I would just implore you to take the chance to step away from what you can do, what you think you want to do, and just don't think about it. Just tell the story and do it. And anybody can then draw 5 pages.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you want to work in comic books, have a web comic, or build a graphic novel, here is your challenge. 5 pages in 30 days. Now, you're going to have to be faster than that if you actually want to work in the industry, but you have to start somewhere. So give yourself 30 days. I know you have a job or school or whatever else going on. But if you can't do that, this might be some of the best advice that you'll ever get in your life, because you'll realize that you failed at it, and it's okay to fail. It's completely okay. I've failed tons of times. Derek's failed tons of times. We're going to fail tons more times in the future. But what's important is being able to let go of these unrealistic dreams so you can get some realistic dreams and then work towards those. Any last thoughts, Derek, before we wrap up here?
Yeah, sure. Don't do stuff you don't like to do. Do the things that make you happy, and do the things that you get fulfillment out of and enjoy. I think there's a misconception about one doing comics or anything else within the art field, whereas we romanticize not necessarily the aspect of doing the actual comic work, but getting the attention that the comic work brings. Do comics if you love comics. Do concept art if you love concept art. Do children's books or painting, whatever it is that, feed the sick, whatever it is you want to do that brings you fulfillment, do that thing. Your heart will tell you.
Oh, I wish my heart had a louder voice some days. All right.
Me too.
That's it for us. We'll have show notes and everything over at pencilkings.com/podcast as usual. Derek, any new URLs that you want to throw out, or where do people find you?
You know what? Right now, since I'm very laser beam focused on the things that I'm doing in general, Instagram is just the major spot. YouTube soon, but Instagram is it right now.
Cool. And we'll have links to that over at pencilkings.com/podcast. See you next week. Thanks again, Derek, for the update, and I look forward to the next one. I don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
I never know.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, thanks.
All right, take care.
See ya.
Scope demands patience, skill, years of practice.
You talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.